Hey everyone, I'm Alicia Toot from a music blog, yeah, and I'd like to introduce you to our interview with Katie and Jules from the Ting Tings.
Hello.
Thanks very much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
It's our pleasure. The last time we spoke was actually 2 years back, and it was just when you were in the process of creating your third album, and now Supercritical is finally out, so congrats on that.
Thank you.
Just tell us a bit about your process recording the record and just what that was like for you.
Okay, so we recorded this record in Ibiza. We've definitely realised that we go to like a new country every time we record an album. So the second one was in Berlin, the first one was Manchester. So somehow we ended up in Ibiza after touring. And we got there, and Ibiza is very kind of well known, probably worldwide actually, for being like a mecca of good and bad dance music. You know, it's huge clubs there. It's got a huge history of DJs and great dance. And so we knew by going there, we anticipated that we would be influenced in some way. I think more in like a songwriting way, because a lot of dance records are constructed quite differently to a pop song. You know, you've got like a verse and a chorus in a pop song, whereas a dance record really just keeps building to these euphoric moments, and then the DJ drops it and everyone goes nuts. So we thought we'd find some kind of inspiration from that. But what happened was we got to Ibiza and we'd go to the clubs and we'd really enjoy ourselves, but we didn't want to make that kind of music like EDM. And so we'd go home to like our little studio and we'd sit there and we'd go, wow, can you imagine clubs like Studio 54 in New York and CBGB's, and can you imagine seeing Blondie at CBGB's and Talking Heads and Diana Ross at Studio 54, and clubs that don't really exist anymore. And so the first thing we definitely knew we wanted to do was to bring the BPM slower, back to more like funk and groove based kind of dance music. And then we met Andy Taylor from Duran randomly. We had no idea who he was. We had no plans to work with him. But he became our friend over many, many months. And so, for instance, we would find this photograph of Diana Ross at Studio 54 with Nile Rodgers in the DJ booth. And we would, you know, show Andy the photograph, and we would say, Andy, look, we want to take our band in a DJ booth. We want to, like, squash our drum kit in there and our guitars and see if a band would work. And Andy would tell us stories saying, oh, well, you know, I was there that night with Diana Ross, and he had all these amazing stories. So we all collectively fell in love with that time.
Something, the record hones in those 70s sounds, and I know it just makes me want to strap on my shoes, like my roller skates, and that says something, because I am awful at rollerblading, so, you know, but that whole vibe that came about while in the studio, were you listening to those types of tracks, like old school 70s tracks?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of mess it up as well. It's not just, we're not loyal to it, but we were really enthused by it. And it's kind of like you said, it's the music that you want to get ready to. When you listen to, you know you're going to have a good night when you hear those tracks. So we were playing them a lot, and we were getting a lot of vinyl and spinning it that way and enjoying that sound. But as always, we'd always go back to sort of Talking Heads, some of our favourite bands. There's a spike in like Talking Heads. There was this whole time, like late 70s, early 80s, where kind of disco and new wave and punk were like fusing and creating a new sound that was still disco but with an edge to it. And that's what we love about Blondie and Talking Heads.
That is like the song of that, where all those kind of styles met.
So, you know, going on from that, like Fatback Band, Chic and stuff like that, we were listening to a lot of that stuff, and I mean, really getting off on it, and we just wanted to recreate as much as we could in, you know, that type of style of music.
Well, Duran, as you mentioned, Andy Taylor worked with you on the record, so what was it like working with him? Because I'm a huge Duran fan.
Really?
Yes.
I miss them, and I feel like I'm older than you, but like my mum would have been into them. I knew like their big hits, but that was kind of it. It was amazing working with Andy, really. We had the best time in the studio. We've never worked with anybody in the studio before, and it took us a long time to even consider working with him, because we were so frightened that if it didn't, you know, if we did a song together and it didn't work, we'd lose our friendship, because it would be really awkward, and we'd be like, we didn't want to insult him. So to finally get in the studio with him gradually over time and feel comfortable was a huge thing for us, and I think it's made us realise now that maybe on the next album we could do that again with somebody else. You know, it'd have to be the right person, but whereas before we was quite against working with anybody, if we could have that moment again of enjoyment, we would definitely do it again.
Well, as you had mentioned, you are inspired by a lot of 70s music, along with new wave and punk, the whole collision that happened. So if you were able to tour with any of those bands right now, hypothetically here, which ones would you like? So I'm sure Talking Heads are one of them, because you always seem to bring those guys up.
That's a tough one. I just would love to tour with. Well, they're not together anymore, a lot of those bands. But I mean, if we could go out with Talking Heads, if they were still existed, they won't ever exist again as a band. But that would just be flawless. I mean, that would be amazing. Prince. I mean, that would. I mean, we're hitting high here, right? If Prince is even listening to this, then he's got to get his shit together, because we need to be supporting Prince on his next tour. There's no doubt about it. Even if it's just so we can watch him every night consistently, that'd be amazing.
How about yourself, Katie?
Those two, definitely.
Those two?
Fleetwood Mac are on tour, and I think they're touring this year, or they toured last year. We got obsessed with Fleetwood Mac, Stevie Nicks as well, whilst making this album, so that would be amazing. Who else? Blondie tour as well, so there's too many. Definitely Talking Heads, Blondie. I'd love the Smiths as well, but I don't want to meet Morrissey, because I think he's probably not very nice by the looks of it, and it would wreck every Smith song that I love. So maybe not him, because I don't want to meet him. I'd just rather keep him there and appreciate him there.
Well, in support of the record's release, you, of course, tour North America now, but this tour also brought you to Germany, and then you played Japan. So what was the experience like playing for these other audiences outside of the UK?
It's always amazing going to Japan. Japan, it's just mind-blowing. It's like pop culture central of the world. It really is. It's like they embrace, Britpop, American funk, rock, electronica, and they put it all together in this crazy style. Everything is kind of pink, baby blue and baby pink lights. It's the minute you land in Tokyo, everything is these kind of crazy. It never goes dark. It's just an amazing place. Karaoke bars. It's just. We went to a restaurant called, was it Robot Restaurant? I've never seen it like it. It's just like, it's not that big a place, and you eat, the food's terrible. And it's all about these crazy robots they've made, and they kind of spin up and down and do all these stunts and dance.
I saw that on Food Network. There are a bunch of themed restaurants there.
Yeah, it's like, but it's
ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. It's not like it's not like it's done well, but it's not like slick. It's just crazy, and Tokyo's an amazing place, and playing there's brilliant because they get pop culture. They love anything we throw at them. They really love it, and they have a great time. So that's great being there. France is great. I mean, you eat really well in France. The backstage areas are fantastic. Wine, they really look after you there. The audience is so romantic. I remember, like, every now and again you get when you're playing around the world, you get someone that tries to jump on stage or tries to creep in around the back or something, and it's a problem because obviously security jumps them out and stuff. But I remember playing Bataclan in Paris, and someone got on stage, and all the security went in, and he ran on the stage. He ran up to Kate, and everyone was like, "Oh no, he got to Kate!" And he kissed her on the cheek, and then ran and dove back in the audience. So it's like very romantic, the whole kind of ethic there is beautiful. I know we played Cologne recently. That went off, didn't it?
It's interesting because different songs are like bigger in different countries. For instance, in Japan, they love Great DJ. Because we did this weird dance routine in the video, they kind of do the dance routine. It's really odd. And then you go somewhere else and Shut Up and Let Me Go is big, and then somewhere else That's Not My Name. So it's really weird to know that, been to Indonesia, and every song's big in a different country. It's really weird.
Well, I know for this tour, you'd actually, as you wrote on your Twitter, you checked one off the bucket list because you went to Niagara Falls. So is there anywhere else for this tour, touring in general, that you still need to check off of that list?
Yeah, I mean, we've just hit on China, but we went to Chengdu, and I think I'd love to see more of China. I don't know. I mean, we did Russia, but I think there's more to see in Russia. They're the kind of places we've not really hit that much. South America, I think, is the people there write to us so much on Facebook and Twitter and stuff. They say, come to Colombia, come to all these places, all these countries. And we've been to a few of them, but again, we'd just love to go there, really nice, warm people. I imagine the audiences are amazing, and they just keep writing to us all the time. So.
Nice. Well, just to wrap things up here, I wanted to ask both of you, what would you say is the best part about actually being in the Ting Tings together?
The best thing about being in the Ting Tings is undoubtedly being here, traveling around the world. Music's taken us all over the place, and without it, I would never have got to see any of it. So, me and Katie and writing great songs for us, not great songs, I'm not being big-headed about it, but for us to love what we do, to love your job, and to travel around the world and see where we live. It's a remarkable planet. I mean, how do you do that? We're very lucky.
Well, we really do appreciate your time today, and I just wanted to say thank you on behalf of the Music Blog, for taking the time to speak with us. We really look forward to your show tonight in Toronto.
Thank you.
And thanks for everyone at home for watching.